What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago, we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique.
Help other people to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores Cannon has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT. Now you can learn her method by going directly to themoreshow.com/QHHT. And don't forget to mention the discount coupon More Talks. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
Hi everybody, I'm Michelle Carpenter. I am a medium and the channel for the Council of Eight, Angelic Beings of Light and Ascended Masters. And I'm originally from Johannesburg, South Africa, and have been living in the beautiful New Zealand, Nelson, New Zealand, a tiny little town, for the last 2 years, but immigrated almost 6 years ago to New Zealand. And I'm so excited to be here with Kevin Moore today.
It is lovely to have you on, Michelle. It is. And I was just taking in what you were saying there as well. So, okay, you probably didn't say this in the intro, but I'm just going to add it. But you've been channeling the Council of Eight for about 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. But you were saying there that you immigrated to New Zealand, and you've been in New Zealand for a number of years now. Johannesburg was where you were originally born, and grew up in. Am I right? Was there another part of South Africa that you actually grew up in? What part did you grow up in? Let me ask you that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I actually was born in what was known as Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe. And I was born in 1972 in Bulawayo. And then my dad was a soldier in the Rhodesian War. And as the government had changed, there was a time where my parents decided to leave Zimbabwe as it just wasn't a great space to live in. And my folks immigrated to South Africa in 1981. So most of my life, I was raised in Johannesburg, South Africa, moved around a bit, lived in London, moved back to South Africa. And so most of my life, I've been a Joburg chick, as many Joburgers would know, kind of hardcore at the best of times, and had a lot of extreme trauma growing up, which I've come to realize in this journey as I've gone into adulthood. And I had no idea, even leaving Zimbabwe when my folks fled Zimbabwe, I had no idea that would have impacted me as much as it did as a young child. My dad being in the war affected him hugely. So yeah, we also went through a lot of extreme times in South Africa, extreme change in South Africa. It's an amazing country to live in. But we, as our own family unit, I've got 2 children, decided to leave South Africa and come and live in New Zealand just over 6 years ago.
6
so
years
I feel
ago.
very blessed.
Okay. Yeah.
Blessed, yeah.
So your mum and dad, they're still over in Zimbabwe?
No, my folks are in South Africa. My mom passed over just over a year ago, and my dad still lives in Johannesburg, a tiny little mining town called Randfontein. That's where we pretty much grew up most of our lives. But yeah, most of our family, actually all of our family except one brother, lives in Israel. But otherwise, the rest of our family still lives in South Africa.
Israel. Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Do you get to go to Israel much? Or have you been?
I've been once. I was very lucky to go when I was in my early 20s when he got married. And it's a beautiful country. And at the time, I've never been into history, and especially at school. And I actually wished I was more into history because what I've come to realize over these last few years is that there's so much beautiful ancient wisdom in Israel. And yes, I am planning to go. We are planning to go in the next few years. Have you been, Kev?
No, not yet.
Amazing country.
But I will, most definitely. I'd love to visit Israel, actually, yeah. Do you think then that talking about your past, why is it talking about your past important, do you think? I mean, does the past make us who we are? I guess it does, but...
Mm-hmm. I think and feel just on my own journey, like I had no idea that my past would impact on my life and where I'm at today in the work that I do. I personally believe that we all have a story to share, and my part of my past was realizing that my soul knew my journey in this lifetime. And I was very much a victim of my life and my story, and I played the victim very well. I had a very big pity party for a very long time about why this was happening to me and why. I don't know how much you would like me to share of my past, but I think the past doesn't define me and who I've become. But my past and my story has most certainly created a different world of me becoming, I was very much a grief and trauma specialist. And that was part of my past in the grieving and the trauma that I've come from, the background that I've come from, the trauma that I created, and the grieving that I've gone through in my life in the last 15 years have been my own personal journey. People would call it the awakening or a wake-up call, was where I like to share a part of my story in terms of when people ask me, or in terms of helping others, because I believe that, trauma and our past doesn't define who we are. We can get through it. We can work through it. And it wasn't the easiest journey for me to work through. Forgiveness was a huge part of my journey, not only forgiving myself for certain things that happened in my life, but also forgiving. I was sexually abused at the age of 5, forgiving my uncle, forgiving my dad for drinking excessive amounts of alcohol, forgiving my mom for being an angry mother who projected a lot of her own pain onto me and my siblings. I'm still working through a lot of that. I'm still working through a lot of the past, but no, it doesn't define us. It's like, what are we going to do with it? What are we going to take from the past and reshift and recalibrate and work with it? We're all a work in progress, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, did you have then this connection to what you've got now in any form when you were growing up, when you were, 20s, 30s? I mean, was this knowing there, this ability to know certain things about people, but you don't know where it came from, maybe?
Yes and no. When I look back and there's moments where I look at my child and I go, oh, that's why I was I just would say things. I would say things that would pop out of my mouth, but then I'd get into trouble for saying things, and I was led to believe I was incredibly straightforward and that I didn't have a filter system, which sometimes I still don't. But no, I grew up in a Methodist home, and my parents would send us off to church. My dad was an atheist in those years, and my mom was very much of the opinion that we've got to go to church. So my older brother and I went to church, and then I became a reborn Christian. And in my teenage years, I was hallelujahing and praising the Lord and loving going to church, and it was a Pentecostal church. And what I've come to realize is light language is just speaking in tongues. So I think there's an interconnectedness that happened, and I loved going to church at the time. But then I just realized that humans are humans, and I realized that we're putting all our faith into people in the church. I most certainly was, and at the time I was still a virgin, but then I saw people that I was great friends with in the church that were doing their thing on weekends, and I was like, what? Like, this is not the way life is supposed to be. And of course, very judgmental of other humans, but I realized I was putting my faith in other human beings. I was putting my faith in an outside cause, when I came to realize that it's all inside of us. And over the years of realizing that even my background, I only came to realize as a teenager that being sexually abused was a massive thing in a young person's life. I just thought it was the norm. I thought it was what people did to people. I thought, older people did this to younger people. And I came to realize that, this was a big thing, for a young girl to go through. And a part of my journey was working as a part-time caregiver for hospice in one of the little small towns that we lived in, or that it was close by to where I lived. And when I was 16 and a half, I lost my best friend. She had a kidney transplant, and she died in hospice in Johannesburg. And again, this is part of where my evolution, my transition, my change was always happening for me. I just didn't realize, because there was so much grief that I suppressed, and the church was very much a big part of my life. And but I realized that I always made God outside of me, not inside of me, because that's what I was taught. I didn't know any different. But as I've gone through change, and the big wake-up call for me was my ex-husband having an affair. And I was 33 at the time, and I went to go see a clairvoyant because I was so angry in life. I was so angry with life. I was angry at everybody, and angry at just being like, just why has everybody else got everything happening for them? What about me? Where's my time coming, kind of thing. So very much lived in my victimhood. And then this young gentleman just said to me, Michelle, you just don't know you don't know how to love yourself. And I was like, what do you mean? Help me with my anger, dude. Like, just help me. And he said, I think that it would be a good thing for you to go on a weekend retreat, which was held by hospice. And then that developed into me working with counseling, working with others that were passing over. So do you see, it's kind of like, and there's even in my 20s, which this was a massive part of what I've come to realize or wake up, but I knocked over and killed a young girl at the age of 24. I was a sales rep in most of my working life. And, I looked down to put a straw into my cool drink, and she had misjudged my car, and I was on the right side of the road. And, so I knocked over a young girl, and again suppressed that, So I just got on with life. So yes, I know I've given you a sort of a long-winded answer to my experiences in life, but I realize that a lot of what I've gone through has most certainly happened for me to awaken to the fact that there is more. And my faith at the time definitely got me through those times. But I've had to bring it in. I've had to bring it into my heart and realize that it's inside of me and it's inside of us instead of outside. I don't know if that makes sense, Kev.
It does. It does. Lots to unpack there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I go off on a tangent. You've got to bring me back.
No, it's all good. So, when did you get into the work that you're doing now? I mean, I know you talked about 4.5 years ago about the channeling, but what about just what was that point where you said, "Oh, I guess we're channeling," or I guess I'm developing this side. And then we're going to go back to some of the things that you mentioned as well.
Awesome. So it basically started, my mediumship actually kicked in first before the channeling started to evolve. I was counseling at the time, and I was seeing clients that had come into my space. And as the universe has a great sense of humor, my first clients were all sexually abused when they were young. And for me, life is a reflection that we have all parts inside of us, and they were helping me to heal as much as I was working with them.
Had you dealt with it with your parents at the time when they came in?
Yes, when I started counselling and working as a counsellor part-time, I, at the age of 33, then went and spoke to my parents about it.
Okay, so this happened after when you got to see the clients. When you took on the counselling, had you got a certification for that? There must have been some training, I would have thought.
Yep, it was a 14-week course that I did with Hospice on the West Rand, which is a part of Johannesburg, and it was called Counselling Skills. So that was very much talk therapy, and getting people to feel, to get into their bodies. And
so you'd done some work on yourself, and was this had husband number one had that part? Was that part over by then? Was he gone by then?
Yes. So that was very much. I had a little baby girl at the time, and we had been separated.
With a new husband, or with him? With him.
No, separated with the first husband. He was living in London, coming backwards and forwards to South Africa, and we had lived in London, had our baby girl in London, and we decided to come back to South Africa.
Yep. Okay.
And then I didn't know he was having an affair, but my dad had affairs when he was young, and when we lived in Zimbabwe, and my mom just saw the signs. And I was like, no, this is not real. This would never happen to me. My mom was like, the signs are there, I can see it. And I know it very, very well. So, there was that part of the background and the trauma, which again was projected onto us as children, because obviously it must have been incredibly tough for my mother to have gone through that.
Well, it was a very stressful country to live in as well, especially at that time.
Sure.
Let me get you back to where you was then. So yes, sure. So you're giving the sessions to the clients, counseling.
Yep. And then I had this one client sitting in front of me, and I didn't even know this at the time, but I said to her, I'm picturing you with a little baby girl, and she's dressed in a white robe, and she's got dark hair, and this woman's eyes went wide. And I said, and I kind of couldn't even articulate what I was being shown. And she just, her eyes and her mouth dropped, and she said, how do you know this? And I said, I don't know, I'm just being shown this right now, but you're holding a little baby girl. And she said to me, oh my God, Michelle, my little girl was stillborn, and I hadn't even shared that information with you. And that's when I started to realize that there was more. And then with the counselor I was seeing for my own help and my own transition and working through my own trauma, started to introduce me to energy. And I was very much loving Wayne Dyer's work at the time, Louise Hay's work at the time. Classic, like you say. Yep, when I was repping every day, I was listening to these CDs, and like I say, getting work from my own counselor who became my mentor. And I realized, oh, wow. And I started to expand, because even going through this transitionary phase of my ex having an affair, which was a wake-up call, that was a great, great thing to happen for me, I realized that this was also just all part of the journey. And I wanted to go back to church, because I was searching, and I wanted to go back to the church, but it didn't feel good for me. So this is where I realized that, hang on, what can I start to do to bring it into my space? And then I studied neuro-linguistic programming, and then I went on a different channeling course, and then I did a yoga teacher training. So I just became like the sponge at 33, 34, 35 years old.
Well, let me ask you this though. Do you think at that time, do you think actually what you were trying to do, you say it was a sponge, yeah, but do you think you was also trying to find value, fulfillment? You was also trying to find, what is your value? What is your fulfillment? People use the word purpose, but I'm trying not to use that word right now. Do you think you was trying to find what really, kept you, what made you want to wake up in the morning? What made you go?
At the time, being a mother was my first and foremost responsibility. And for me, I wanted to be a better mother. I wanted to be better. So if we define that as the waking up, and we define that as the Yep, I want to excuse
well, the baby
my
would
expression,
give fulfillment, most definitely, right? Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Some people don't have
she
that, obviously, when they're finding fulfillment.
100%,
right? Yeah.
yes. But I came to realize over time that, when I was joining the dots of my background, I was like, whoa, holy whack, man. I've been through a huge amount of, the word that we're using nowadays and that I'm using is trauma. There was a huge amount of stuff that I suppressed and kept inside of me. So yes, I just, and a part of my school journey, I wasn't very good academically at all. I was told I was stupid many, many times. So for me, I'm saying I became the sponge because I wanted to know that there's more to life. There's more to just who we are and in that moment. And I felt like I was just like, okay, what else can I bring into my space to grow? And neurolinguistic programming taught me a huge amount about, the mind, the body, and our belief systems and our values. But I didn't get it. It was too science for me, to be honest. It was just too structured. And I was like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. So it kind of just organically fell into my lap, where I realized that I was being guided, even with finding a shaman who taught me this channeling. I started to see more. That's when things started to really kick into place, and this was when I was 38, 39, 40, where I did my yoga teacher training, and then my third eye just started to pop open. And I started to see things, and I would be around people, and I started to feel their vibration, and I would say things where they would just start crying, and they'd say, how do you know that? And I still wasn't labeling myself at that time, because why? Because everybody else did it. Michelle didn't do it. Michelle didn't have it. Everybody else did it, and everybody else was psychic. Everybody else was a medium. So I wasn't accepting of my gifts and my abilities, but I would say things, and I started realizing that, hang on, I'm not the one, I'm the conduit. And I didn't know channeling was a thing either at the time in South Africa. A huge part of my expansion was coming to New Zealand in 2016, falling apart. I literally went into such a depressive state. I had, which I've come to realize in the last 2 years only, believe it or not, that my husband and I have had extreme PTSD. In South Africa and Joburg, we had a few experiences where we just were on, you live in the state of flux, survival.
Yeah, people wouldn't understand it unless you're part of that energy, part of that experience. It's very different.
Absolutely. So I came to New Zealand in 2016, and I fell to pieces, and my second husband said to me, who the hell are you? I left this vivacious, vibrant woman who was a go-getter, and I came here and I was just like,
how many kids at the time?
Two. So we had another little boy, and he was 6.5 at the time, and my daughter from my first marriage was 12.5. And I cried every day, and I would just bring my kids. I would get up in the morning, and somebody said to me, "Are you depressed?" And I didn't even know what depression was.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even know. Kevin, I didn't even know what depression was, and I didn't want to own it. I didn't want to admit it to myself, and I was like, maybe I am. I'm not too sure. But I got up every day. I made their lunch. I made sure they went to school. And yep, I've come to admit that it was a massive part of the release of having PTSD. There were just circumstances that had happened,
which is fantastic mum job to be able to, put that front on, and everything's okay for the kids. But obviously, when they're at school, things are very different, aren't they?
Massive.
That silence, it's just another time for reflection, isn't it? And all the things that you've not dealt with.
100%.
So, this is interesting. So, you were forced to deal with your stuff. What was that moment of like, okay, I'm dealing with it now, and then all of a sudden, like I say, how do we get to the challenge? Can we get there quick in a sense? Because I know that we're both a bit restricted with time, and this is a convoluted story as well.
I started realizing that I started having different voices coming through, and then I would have people on my table, because I was still doing a lot of sort of body work at the time, counseling at the time, mediumship work, and then my hands started moving in a different way. And then I started having these chants come out of me, these tones come out of me. And then the one day I had a client sitting in front of me, and I said, I have somebody, a being that wants to speak to you. And then I started asking questions, who are you? And I got shown they're the council. And I was like, well, who's the council? And then I got shown, and this is where my handwork was showing me the eight, infinity. And the connection started to develop and become stronger. And this was, like I say, about 4.5, 5 years ago. And I honestly just started to trust in the information that was coming through. And I used to close my eyes at the time when I was giving and delivering messages to clients. And I have come to see them, and I've come to experience over time in hypnosis sessions that I've, that the connection has always been there actually from the day I was born, and which I didn't know. And so they've been around me. I've just developed the connection, and I had to learn to trust myself, not about them trusting me. And it's just developed and become stronger and stronger and stronger. And then I started just saying, well, can I share this? Yep, with a council of 8. So it was just a development of myself and the trust, and that there is more, and that they were here showing up for me.
Do you find that, and do you still find, shall I ask, that clients that come to you are, obviously the issues vary. There might be some underlying things that you get with with them as well, and maybe you can answer that as well. But with what you've been through, do you think that a lot are drawn to you, unknowing to them in a sense, but you're able to, because of what you've been through, you're drawing people that have got something similar that's going on in or has gone on in your life with what they're currently going through as a client, and there's a match there in a sense. There's a frequency match.
Yes, I think that's a great way of putting it. And to be honest, I never looked at it like that before. I know that through my own upgrades, my nervous system had to upgrade, my vocal tones had to upgrade. I would get really, really cold. Often people would say to me as a healer, oh my God, your hands are really cold. And I had to accept that they're different to, a lot of healers who have warm hands. So yes, there's been this absolute connection of the frequency matching, the vibration matching. And I don't think I'll ever match their vibration, to be honest, because they're out there in the field, and I'm still got this human body, this human meat suit. But I know that they've put me through upgrades, and I didn't even know what the upgrades were about, because I would just be completely depleted, and I thought, whoa, my body, what's going on with my body? But I've had to start listening to what I eat, what I drink, and it's a freaking pain in the ass at times, because it's like, really? I'm still human, people.
Yeah. Where the good old days gone, right? Yeah. Well,
exactly.
Probably, you could handle it just for a couple of hours, then afterwards,
Yep, done.
Yeah, done. Yeah.
I say I'm a lightweight.
Yeah. Well, then it depends. As we maybe get older, we've got more of a tolerance to certain stuff as well. Maybe I don't know.
True.
We've got all that to look forward to, I guess. Yeah. But no, you've changed to what your likes and dislikes are. But yes, this whole idea that you are at a place where you've gone through what you've gone through for many, many, many reasons. And I guess some of the past life regression stuff, you were able to sort of zone in to certain aspects of what you went through as well. Let's, and I know you've talked about all of this before. I'm guessing you have, but let's just go to that young girl that was killed. That's a very difficult thing to live with. Did you get to see her family? Did you? How did that? I mean, was it, obviously there was police involved and stuff like that. I'm sure that you were deemed as, it was an accident, but I guess that was a very difficult time. Just very briefly.
It was an incredibly difficult time, and the story behind it was extreme, and the way things were handled was completely not the way I would have ever have thought it would have been handled, because they had put my case aside. And at the time, South Africa, I then a year later became a homicide case, and I was like, whoa. I got contacted by a policeman, and it just completely, at the time I was told it was an older woman. It was a woman in her 60s, and my ex-boyfriend at the time came to the scene of the accident. When I shared with him that it was a young girl, because I went off at him, I went loony, he said to me, Michelle, I promise you it was an older woman. Basically what had happened was I got a phone call from her mother, which was an absolute earth angel. And I said, how did you get my number off the accident report? And she said it was given to her, and she actually phoned me to ask me how I was doing, because she said her daughter had been knocked over at the age of 7 and she came through that. And then at the age of 14, she said she was never good with running across the road or reading, so I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated that it was a 14-year-old. I mean, taking a life, or this contract, the soul connection is, no matter how the words that you use, is hectic,
Absolutely. So when she called you, was that, well, it must have been feel a bit of a blur thinking even back to it, but was that pretty much after the accident or some time after the accident?
It was a few months after the accident.
So pretty
timeline,
soon. Okay.
6 to 8 months.
Well, that's incredible that you were able to speak to her and have, for both of you, to have that healing. Obviously, she knew it was a complete mistake, and I guess that there was a part of you that then hurried on in life, just maybe even a year after that. If you would just go forward a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you weren't dealing with it, or you hadn't really dealt with it, or you'd kind of done what maybe a lot of us would do, is try to, just move forward with life. Do you know what I mean? But not processing it properly. I think, am I being fair? Maybe that was a...
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I went away on a holiday to Cape Town like 2 days later, and I went to go see a psychologist, and it was just before Christmas, and she decided to give me medicine and like medication, antidepressants, and my late grandmother was on My late grandmother was, she had, I think, 5 or 8 different nervous breakdowns, and I said, nope, it's not going to work.
I'm not saying, but I'm not saying medication is not good. Sometimes we need it. Like maybe in that situation, you goddamn well needed it. I just know that, obviously the long-term side effects of some of this stuff, that's what I just said there, like, oh God,
I agree.
But but there is a time when you need this stuff. So you just do, right? That's what it's there for.
Yes.
So sorry.
And at the time, I wished I'd taken it, to be honest.
Oh, you didn't actually take it? Oh, wow.
No. I got the script and I walked out quite pissed off, to be honest, because, she said to me, oh, take this medicine and it's for lactating mothers, so your breasts might leak. And I was like, what? I'm 27 years old. I was 24 at the time, 25. And I was like, really? Like, how do you do this, Yes, and you're going to have diarrhea, and it was very matter of fact, and like I said, it was 2 days before Christmas, so I kind of think I felt like she just did me a favor, and like, let's just give you the medicine and get out of here. And I went back to the flat we were staying in, because we were on holiday in Cape Town, and I just cried in my friend's arms. I wept and I wailed, and she just held me and held me and held me. And so I decided not to take the medication based on my family history, with my grandmother, my late grandmother, being on antidepressants for a long time and in and out of...
well, let's do this, because this is all very difficult stuff, right? And this isn't, a show called This Is Your Life, not yet, right? But I think it's just worth talking about this. Let's go to the point where you felt that you wanted to get healed. I'm feeling that you looked back on this event through some sort of regression or something. Yeah. Okay. So tell us what you did and what it taught you about this connection you had with this young girl, and how, anyone that's been through something like this, there is always a deeper connection. It's not to take away the pain, but there is something deeper going on.
Well, a fascinating part of my journey, which I've come to realize, and I actually get teary even sharing this with you right now.
Well, I was trying to keep you away from that. Right. Okay.
No, you know what? These are good tears, because I've realized this time and time again. But, the mentor that I had, the counselor that I had in Johannesburg, had also knocked over a young girl, had also been sexually abused. So the universe, the divine guidance was always there. And
just what we spoke about before, meeting someone on your same level, in a sense, when...
Absolutely. So, there's resonance in our stories, I believe. Even the young girls that first came to me when I was counseling them, there's a resonance. Even though our stories are completely different, the way things happen are completely different, but it's like a aha moment of like, oh my God, they can relate. There's a relation, there's something here. So, yes, to fast forward into the journey of my grieving, I went and I had a hypnosis regression, and the therapist had brought along the soul, and I'd done a lot of work with that. I'd studied integrative quantum medicine in New Zealand, and I'd met this young soul many times, but there was still a lot of grieving. I felt like I had to unpack it, and find forgiveness, because I was still in the why. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Nobody ever wants to knock over or take a life, ever, in my opinion. You could be the most hardened person in life, and be in jail. But the reality is nobody
it only
ever
takes a
in that
mistake.
moment.
It only takes a mistake. No one's thinking of doing that most times. It's just a mistake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in this past life regression, I eventually got to meet her in a different way. You know, the therapist had called the soul, and she was so happy and expressive and said, Michelle, it's okay, get on with your life. I just needed that permission in that moment. But like I say, this was probably 2.5 years ago. So this happened in 1999, 98, I think, that this has happened. So it's a long time in the process of, you know, kind of the spikes, like, whoa, what, this is happening again? And every therapist I was going to, like, really? It's coming up again? So yeah.
I mean, like, you know, I didn't have to talk about it neither, but I mean, you mentioned it as well. But you know, I think it's one of those poignant markers in it, and yeah, I think just the way you've dealt with it and what you did, you know, as well, you know, even for yourself and getting that, you know, and I think there's worth in talking about, like we have, but yeah, but not an easy subject, not an easy one.
It never is, you know, and it hits me every now and again. It's kind of like taking one of our animals to the vet, and you know you've got to put them down, and then you can talk about it one day, and then the next day it's like, what?
So, you know? and most of these things, though, there is a soul contract. So you had a soul contract with her in a sense that, you know, that
I did.
Would you go along these lines that maybe it wasn't, you didn't have to, but the choice is there too, and yeah. Do you feel that maybe your soul was on a journey taking you? Did you feel led at the time when you look back? Do you think you were just like, you know what, I'm in no charge? There was no charge. It just, you know.
Gosh, I think I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest. But I think that if I overthink it, I would probably have 15 different answers for you, in the knowing of what I've come to learn over all these years of my change of life and my wake up to myself, and learning that love is all there is actually in my journey of a soul. There was unconditional love from her mother picking up the phone after she'd gone through a massive loss, and she phoned to find out, she took the time to find out how I was. That's unconditional love, you know. She could have blamed me. She could have gone, what the hell were you thinking? She was an earth angel in my eyes. And it's something I would like to believe that I would do, you know, if that happened to one of my kids. So there's the you know, it was the rejoining, because also what I didn't realize is a part of my soul had left in that accident, because I didn't know what I had hit. My car was a complete write-off. So people had stopped for me, other earth angels had stopped for me, and I said, because I was in farm territory, I don't know if it was a dog or a cat or a cow, 100% in shock, you know. And I think my body most certainly stayed in shock for a long time. But what had actually happened was I started to get migraines. I started to get massive, you know, in my monthly cycle, my body started to show me that the stress I was holding on to, not only because of that situation or that story or that massive interaction of the two, or the contract that had happened, it was more than that, you know. So my body, my health was taking strain, because I just lived under this complete straight fight, flight, fright since I was a young girl. Yeah,
which says a lot about what we do to our bodies in stressful situations. Absolutely. And what ramifications it can have. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
And may I say something? Yeah. Years ago, I don't even know if I did this in the moment, but years ago, even probably a year ago, I would have said, Kev, I'm so sorry, I'm crying. But for me, the vulnerability is the expression of how it's just those moments of thinking, oh my gosh, this woman who was my counselor, who was my mentor, who was one of my very best friends, how we walked this journey together, you know. And I had this like heart-opening moment, and I'm incredibly open with just sharing my tears. I call them golden tears, and you know, so I would have apologized previously, and maybe I did in that moment, but something we're all learning, I think, in these really crucial times of change, is that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to express how we feel in that moment, and nobody's journey is right, nobody's journey is wrong. It's just in the moment of sharing, and it's a moment of being present.
Absolutely. It's all good. Don't worry. I totally, hey, look, you've got feelings. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're not a
So do
narcissist,
you.
a complete narcissist with other issues. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
Maybe I am on some other level. I don't know.
I think we all are a little bit, but you've got you're balanced. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think it's very normal.
Yeah.
So that's all good. So, okay, because you mentioned quite a bit on the intro as well, right? And I know we've got to move on, right? When you had to forgive your abuser as well, which I think you said it was your uncle, right? So then, so you're going to your parents then, I'm guessing, and you're telling them years later or decades later what had took place. So I mean, that must have been very, very difficult. How was that received in a sense from them? You
not
believed?
Great, not easy. My dad, his defense mechanism went up, and he said his words, I'll never forget them, was, Michelle, are you sure he didn't just fiddle with you? And I, not to go into the details of what happened, but I gave him a very sarcastic remark back. My mom said, why didn't I tell her? And my dad had spoken to my uncle, and my dad remained friends with him, and they both still had him in their home. And it was a very, very difficult thing for me to even acknowledge that and know that they continued being family and being friends. And fast forward to New Zealand 2019, I think it was. Yeah, 2019. I sent my uncle a message on Facebook Messenger. And when you're not friends with somebody, you don't know if they're going to get it or not. And I just told them exactly how I felt, and I really gave this big purging, because I'd really gone through a lot of work of forgiveness for myself as a little 5-year-old, because something we do not realize is that I think as a person who was sexually abused, I didn't know I had to forgive my little 5-year-old self, that she knew that she was doing something wrong, because she just thought it was just okay. But the forgiving was me wanting to share that great feeling that I'd felt. The feeling was like, oh my God, I feel good in this moment. So let me share this with my friends. Let's play doctor. And fast forward to having a daughter, what I came to realize is children explore. They explore those little private parts. And it's not good, it's not bad, but we're shamed. If our parents catch us, for want of a better statement, playing with ourselves, we're shamed. I was most certainly shamed, and in those years. So yes, my parents, it was a very awkward moment, and I was told, put it to bed, it's done. And when my daughter turned 5, it brought up a whole bunch of anger again for me. And, because then I kind of clicked. I was like, oh my soul, I was that young. I was so little. Yes. And my dad told me to get over it, move on, but remember, this is a man who had been through the Rhodesian War, so he just had to get on with life.
Well, he would have seen a lot, wouldn't he? I mean, I'm not saying he's right. 100%. I'm just saying rape and all that would have been, within
massive.
His peripheral. Not that it's right. Absolutely, it's not.
No.
And it brings back just horror stories of like the Ukraine conflict right now when you think of what you hear over there. But so you taking that power back, you messaging your abuser, that must have felt good.
Good.
Yeah.
And you know what felt even better is that he actually replied. He responded the very next day. And he apologized, and he said, I know we're family, and I was just a young boy because he was a teenager. And I had a few tears with my husband. And but what was so fascinating was not even 3 weeks before that, I'd actually gone away with a group of really good friends who are older than me, and they were all 3 mediums and channelers. And that energy that we transformed was the anger towards my parents for not showing up for me. And so I was able then to express exactly how I felt on this Facebook Messenger, and he replied, and I was like, okay, it's done.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Did your mother see you with the work that you're doing now? What was her response to it?
My mom, until she got, and I'm smiling because I spoke to the devil. She was still a reborn Christian for a very long time. So, I wasn't.
I wonder what you meant by that for a minute, right? Yeah. No, I get it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And then until she then got dementia and Alzheimer's, and then a lot of that shifted. And my mom, my perception is she actually was incredibly psychic herself, because she used to see things. She'd say, "Oh, mashallah, I'd see things," but she kept it contained. And so yes, we used to have these debates and these arguments, and she didn't want to hear about my work.
So that's where it maybe came from, Mum's side more than Dad's.
I think so. Yes, there's things that she mentioned to me as a teenager, but in the Christian way of life, you do not mention these things. It's you're speaking to the devil, so I'm chuckling about it because I know she connects with me in spirit now, and we have a good chuckle about it. And
well, now you've got a relationship on your terms with her.
Yes,
this is your terms, which is completely different. I think we don't realize that when people transition, do we? That the relationship completely swings to, it's more, I suppose,
And I always used to say, funny enough, I always used to say to my friends, I think that when my parents pass over, I'll have a better relationship with them. But when my mom got Alzheimer's and dementia, so much changed for us. She just wanted to tell us how much she loved us, and that was really, really awesome. And now my dad, who is still alive and lives in South Africa, he says my mom comes to him in dreams, and now he's more open. I think he's always been open.
Isn't that beautiful? I was going to say crazy, but that's beautiful. For him, that's really beautiful.
It? Yes, and I'm able to share with him, Dad, she's talking to you. Like, try and wake up and write what she's saying, because he doesn't remember. And I can share messages with him, or a song that my mom and dad loved. And I'll say, Mom wants me to dedicate this song, and it is beautiful. It's just like, wow, okay, the change, the hard work has been worth it. It's come with a lot of wanting to just go into my hole, and I'm typical Cancerian. I live in my shell a lot of the times.
Oh, you Cancer, are you? Oh, same here.
I am.
Yeah, same here.
Are you?
Yeah.
But I've got big pinches. But if the war's on, like an eye's hanging, and I'll lose a pincher, but I'll fight back, man.
I hear you.
Very loyal, very protective.
I've got the red hair on top of that as well, so like double. So yeah.
Yeah. So, you got it all, Kev. You got it all.
Oh, well, I don't always feel like that, but yeah.
I'm sure. I hear you. It is a fascinating moment of actually standing back, and I think often as human beings we do not acknowledge ourselves enough. It's one thing if I had to say to you, you are enough, and you're like, what the hell does that mean? But you're worthy. What the hell does that mean?
Well, I mean, you never really studied, no, absolutely, with what you're saying there, you never really studied any sort of channeled material as such, did you? I mean, you never went out your way to, look at the Law of One or the Seth material, did you? Or
No, No, I didn't even know I haven't heard of that before. That's why I'm like,
That's
what
great.
are you talking about?
Yeah. Great. No, good. Yeah.
I didn't even hear about Bashar up until somebody mentioned them just over a year ago. And I didn't know it was a thing, to be honest. I was just like, there was a friend that came into my life who is connected to the Galactic Federation of Light. And she kind of scared me when I first met her. She lives here in New Zealand, also ex-South African. And that's when I was in so much fear of there's more, and she would talk about these amazing stories of these connections, and I was like, okay, clearly there's an evolution that needed to happen for me.
Yeah, and you had to be in New Zealand for that to take place by the sound of it, I'm guessing. So just remind us as well, Michelle, your services, just what services you offer, because obviously this is an international audience, and there'll be people wanting to get, a reading with you as we...
Thank you so much. So yes, I am, in being a medium or a psychic medium, I'm able to connect with loved ones who pass over into spirit. Sometimes they come through me as the personality, and we have a lot of healing and a lot of fun and a lot of laughter and tears in those sessions. They're beautiful. And then I channel the Council of Eight. The Council of Eight do body scans. They connect into Akashic Records, your blueprint. They share past lives. And often the tonings come through my voice box or my mouth, and I've come to hear that they're different hertzes. I didn't know this, but somebody measured them on one of my YouTube platforms. And sometimes, if the healing needs to happen in the physical part of the body or emotionally, a tone will come through. They whistle, they chant. And I never know what comes through them ever, which is quite exciting, but they make my life easy. So those are the services that I offer, Kev.
Okay. Now we'll link those services below as well in the description of this video. And again, that's video. Yeah. All right. So, well, now for you to connect, it's pretty straightforward. Would you say that you're, I'm hoping you know the difference. I'm sure you do, but it doesn't matter. But if you're like a conscious, are you consciously aware of what's being said in the reading, or are you sort of taking a bit of a back seat, do you think, and you don't remember quite so much of what's, whatever comes through for the client in a sense?
Yes, the latter. So I sort of take Michelle, the personality goes one side, they come directly through. I close my eyes, take a few breaths, they come through, I open my eyes, excuse me, and then when they'll say afterwards, that they're complete, or they might offer a blessing of light. It's kind of like a monologue that they do for the client, and they share what they got to share, and then they'll say, we are complete, namaste, and then I come back. And there might be little tidbits that I might remember, they do funny things, like they've taken my hair out before, and they really are expressive, and I think I love that because I'm pretty expressive and animated in the way that I do things, but they use my hands, and that's what's fascinating. Often I think to myself in the moment, I've got to remember this, like I've got to remember this,
Right.
But then I don't.
Yeah. Right. Which is interesting because, not everyone I meet is doing it that way as well. That's interesting. It's very interesting that you've not got a sort of, a much of a background in even knowing what this is. I mean,
may I share with you, just the first time they started connecting, they showed up in the energies. I have a wonderful friend in the UK, and I was saying to him, the Council of Eight, who are they? Because you just want to know, who are they? Who are these beings? And he would get me to go up and actually connect with them, and they showed up in the energies of Lady Diana, Mother Mary, Nelson Mandela, and Gandhi, and then they've shown me over time that they shift, they change, and they're not one specific entity or three specific entities. I've had people who have done readings for me who have said, Michelle, they're archangels, and Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Raphael. For me, it's kind of like, well, let's just help the healing. Does it really matter? They've showed me the angelic beings of light. They have said it to before, when they've come through, and if you had to ask them a question, they share with you. They've shown me that they're from the 15th dimension. I don't know where that is. Maybe you can tell me.
Oh, it's just round the corner up the hill.
Thanks, man. Right. I thought so. Yeah, a few million light years away, billion light years away.
Yeah, it's all doable. Yeah,
it's all doable. Thanks, man. See you on the rocket, eh? But yeah, that's how they started to show me, and it felt good for me to know that, oh my God, well, Lady Diana, yay, Nelson Mandela, of course, yes, and that was how the trust started to develop, and now they'll just share that they're angelic beings of light, and they take no form. They are not. The one time I imagine myself going up into the spaceship, because we know imagination is everything, isn't it? So they've shown me the commander, these big heads, and they transform.
Well, Michelle, I think it's time that we speak to your group now, the Council of Eight. So I'll hand it over to yourself and let you connect.
Awesome. See you on the other side. Welcome you today to this, how do we say this? This wonderful reconnection of two humans. And we are grateful for this remembering of bringing the messages through, as this is a remembering time. This is a time in humanity. This is a time in the collective. This is a time for humans to remember who and whom they are, rediscovering what their truth is. Their truths lie within, yet human beings, as we are seeing, have forgotten who they are. So we come through this direct channel, who is Michelle, and we have created this relationship. If you would decide or discover or would like to know it as a relationship, it is a relationship of many. So we know that you have questions for us, and we thank you for this invitation to readdress the time and space of our message, yet the questions of what you are wanting to ask us, Kevin.
Well, thank you. So just very briefly then, what is the nature of this group? You go by the Council of Eight, but if you can briefly just maybe go a bit deeper into that, the nature of this group.
So we are, as we have said, angelic beings of light, and we are ascended masters. We have once walked the earth plane. So we come through in a formation of different energies. We have been the energies, and we say this for human beings, for the understanding of human beings, that we have been in the physical bodies of Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Princess Diana, Mother Mary. We are shifting and changing and we are not one formation. We are a collective. We are a collective of angelic masters. We are a collective of angelic beings, and we give the deliverance of certain names as those were earth angels. And there is a resonance of those earth angels, as when we say those specific names, human beings would say, yes, we resonate with those humans. Some may not resonate with those human beings, yet in the nature of who we are a collective. We are nature. We are of source. We hope this makes sense.
And very briefly as well, what is the primary reason for coming through? Is it a good portion of it to help yourself as well, to help the group is helping itself, it's evolving. It's not just about helping us.
This is a wonderful question, and we thank you for that question. This is a symbiotic relationship that has been created. And this was created long before Michelle even chose this physical form and this physical body. So we are showing up in working with and walking with human beings like Michelle, like yourself, like those who come in to our connection of our frequency, of our vibration. And we are here to share that this timing of humanity in the involving of the external, as the external is who we are, yet the internal is who you are as individuals. So our sharings is within the specific messages. The specific messages are to bring in a collaboration of love and light. There is a misunderstanding of what we are noticing, of how many humans have been shown what love and light is. And we share with you in inverted commas, as there are many of the different collectives who, may we say this? And we are not here to share negativity, as that is not what we are wanting to share. We are here to share that there are many that are being drawn in, sucked in, brought in to others who we feel, we see, we know that are not sharing the truth of the way for each individual, or the individuals who show up to deliver messages. What do we mean by this? as you are well aware within the environment of what you are working and how you are being of service, and we acknowledge you. We acknowledge you for being of service up until this point in time, Kevin. And as you are well aware, and within the connections that you have formed and created in these, we use the term years, as years is what you have been working with and connecting with different channelers. Yet we are noticing that many are not sharing. And what do we mean? They are not sharing in the light of the truth, of the love, of the evolution of one's soul. And we know that this is not negative, this is not positive, this just is. And we are sharing the truth, as you are well aware. Are you not?
Losing my train of thought. There's something I just wanted to say there as well. But don't worry. I'll just continue like this. So let me ask you then, with what you're saying there, I suppose my question is, why?
We know that was what you were willing to ask. And as you are well aware that as we are expressing through the channel of Michelle and the downloads that are coming through, the why is a question and a statement that many are seeking, are they not? And when human beings are in seeking, human beings are in a level of desperation at times, from what we have noticed in these past few years that have been playing themselves out. This has been a systematic system that you have all existed in, and many of you have created different platforms, have you not? You have created different platforms for others to either be watching, as this is what humans are doing. They are watching you. They are watching Michelle. They are hearing the message and the deliverance of what we are sharing coming through Michelle. But what we say, we are pausing as we are well aware that within the mind's eye, human beings have a way of making up information, do they not, Kevin? And in the why, there are many who are misunderstood. And as we are saying this for you, as we are bringing the message and delivering the messages within the why, many of you are in a deep longing to understand the why. And when human beings, from what we are noticing from where we are at, is that the why is perhaps where so many of you are giving of yourselves to others. What do we mean by this? We are not here, and our intention is never to say to any human being, including yourself, including Michelle, including anybody that is listening to us, we are coming through in a certain vibration. Many will resonate, many will not. We will say that again. Many will not resonate. And even as we are wanting to deliver the message, as there is a reconnection, there is a recreation, there is a revibration that happens in that moment, yet we are not able to share with those that are in disbelief. This is not for us to decide. This is for the human to decide whether they resonate with the tone of Michelle's voice, with the vibration of who Michelle is, with the resonance. There is vibration, there is frequency, is there not? And in the why, there is a searching, there is a longing to belong. Many humans are wanting to belong. Many humans are wanting to bring in others that can give guidance. And when humans, and if you notice how we use Michelle's hands, there is a contraction that happens within the vibrational body. Yet there is not expansion in that moment. What do we mean? When humans are in contraction, they are in disbelief. They are desperate for messages to be shared. This is not how we are showing up in today. We are sharing that humans are of source. Humans are of the collective. Humans are connected to nature. You asked us our nature. We are all of nature. We are all of the collective. We are all consciousness. We are all within formation. Yet many, many, many humans have forgotten. Hence our teachings, our channelings, our guidance, however you humans choose to interpret what we are sharing, is to share and observe that each human being in the individual of who you are is powerful. Many humans in the why are handing over their power. Are you aware of this, Kevin?
Yeah, so I think also what you're saying here as well, if the message is spinning your head that you're getting from someone, or it doesn't make sense, you don't have to keep spinning your head to try to work it out. And if it doesn't make sense, you're okay to walk away from all of it, right? And find something that does make sense or doesn't spin your head.
Well, those are one of the same things, are they not? When something does not make sense, the head spins, does it not? And when this organ, this brain that you humans have, many of you are wondering what does make sense and what doesn't make sense. And what we are sharing is that the heart's vibration, the sensory vibrational being of who you are, when you are formed into the form of being a human, when you are within the connection of sperm and cell, when that connection happens, there is a formation that takes place, is there not? And the very first thing that most mothers would like to hear is the beating of the heart of the baby. So yes, so much perhaps does not make sense. There is an overload of information from what we are seeing for many of you. And correct, if it does not resonate, walk away.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. So let's just move this in a different direction as well. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now out there in the world. So if there was an important message that could span a bit of time, like for the next few hundred years, right? What would that important message be that would live on in a sense?
We thank you for your great question. The times of challenges that you have all existed within and experienced, many of you are hearing the statement or the phrases, you were born for this time, you were born for this time. Yet, as we are well aware, and as you have said, that this is a time in which nothing else matters except being in the presence of yourselves and your cells. You are all experiencing an upgrade within these moments, are you not? Some may not agree to the upgrade, yet as we are seeing it from where we are as the angelic beings of light that we are noticing that many humans are in strife at the moment. Would you say this is a fair observation?
Absolutely.
Many humans are not enjoying what is going on within the world. So yes, your question is how to continue. The continuation for the next 100 years is the reformation of how humans are rediscovering themselves. Humans, from what we have seen, have given away their power and given away their power and given away their power over eons, have they not, Kevin? And as we are wanting humans to know that this is now a time more than ever, as there is a separation happening within this year of 2023. The separation is being redefined by each individual. Hence, we again will speak of vibration and frequency. Which frequency are you all aligning with? Which vibrational beings are you aligning with? Many of you are wanting authenticity. Many of you are wanting truth. Many of you are wanting to call people out on their individual truths or non-truths. And there is much finger pointing going on, is there not? Yet from where we are and what we have noticed for a long time, and we only speak in the now, is that for a very long time, you humans have given yourselves on platters. You have trusted many of your humans that you have put onto platforms. So change is inevitable. And as the cycle of change within the next few hundred years, the change is positive within the codes of the universe, 3, 6, and 9. You are in the third year, are you not? Within the next 3 years, which brings you to the 6th, there will be calm. Yet there is much uprising that is to come within the next few years. There may be few more wars. Humans are within their own internal struggles, and fighting is what we are seeing. The internal fight, the internal struggle is where many humans are deciding to not stay within the planet. Yet, from what we are noticing and we are all knowing, we are all seeing, is that humans have become destructive, have they not? And it is now more than ever a time, and as you hear, we are slowing down as we are delivering this message. It is now more a time than ever, from what we are noticing, as so above, so below, everything is happening for all of you in this coming together. Many of you are creating separation with inside of yourselves. Yet nature does not separate or separate anything. When one is irate, when one is irritable, they are not in their frequency of love. So change is inevitable. By the year 9, many humans will have redefined what they are hoping for. Many of you are within hope. Many of you are hoping for change, are you not? Yet the change lies within each and every single one of you. And it is now time, as we see it, for you all to individually decide how you can decide what and how you choose to walk forward. What does that mean? You are all powerful, powerful, powerful individuals. And as you are well aware with what you are showing up for yourself, Kevin, we know that you have met many, many, many different forms, many different light beings, have you not?
Yeah, the good, the good, the bad, yep.
Correct. There is the good, the bad. Hence, this is the duality of life. Yet it is not. The light always shines bright within the dark. We hope that this is giving some understanding into the why.
Yes, when I asked the question... Oh, sorry, carry on.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. When I asked the question, what was the most important message of the next few hundred years, if there was one, I feel what you're saying from you've just explained there is really, it comes down to going into your own mission, going into your purpose, going into your passion, and not needing, so much of other people's truths. Yeah. And you even mentioned there the finger pointing of people as well. And that's happened within this community, most definitely. But those that are putting out misinformation, say, for example, that is their purpose. They feel that they're living in their highest joy.
We feel there are so many questions within that specific explanation. And yes, if we were to say tick correct, that purpose is what? Many of you are saying to yourselves, many of you are searching for the guidance of what is my purpose. You mentioned the word passion, and it is an individual statement. What does it mean to be passionate about something?
Let me just add this. I hate to interrupt it. Value fulfillment. It was something said in the Seth material. Value fulfillment. How fulfilled do you feel from what you're doing?
That is the absolute understanding of the why. When one is feeling fulfilled, as we are well aware that if our messages were rubbish, that Michelle would not be fulfilled. She would be shut down. It is as simple as taking this computer and closing it overnight or in 1 millisecond. If it was not, and we were not fulfilling within the messages that we are delivering, what is the purpose? What is the reasoning behind us coming through as the channel that is Michelle? So yes, we are noticing, and humans have cultish ways, do they not? And cults have been going on for a very, very, very long time. So there, from what we are noticing, there is a different realm in the understanding of spirituality. And please notice, we are putting it separate to what we are wanting to deliver to you today as the message. So when humans are claiming that they are spiritual, well, spirit, all spirit. Yet there is an invoking, and we use the word invoking as there is an invoking, which is a forcing in terms of the way we understand language, in terms of the way we talk about vibration. There is an invoking, which is a cutting through. It is as simple as taking a hot knife and cutting it through butter. What do we mean by this? When humans are invoking, when humans are pushing their messages, when they are forcing their messages onto others, some humans love the forcing, as they believe that they are not strong enough inside of their truths to understand, to find their voices.
But is that their value fulfillment in that moment?
From what we are seeing, no.
They would say it might be. They would say it might be, but then you're probably saying they're misled in their own.
100%. Mm-hmm. We are noticing that many are being misled, and it is simple as saying that humans are sheep. Yet humans have lost their voices over these last few years, have they not? The masks were an absolute profound way of how many had to learn to speak up through the masks, did they not? Many times, even though many of you wanted to take your masks down, you were forced to push your masks up, were you not? And you had to speak louder to lift the voice box. Many of you did not like it, yet many of you chose to conform. Not good, not bad. Many of you, again, have created separation in terms of what you decided was not good for yourselves individually. Some of you would say some stood up. Some of you would say some conformed. Some of you would say some were invoked. Some of you would say that you had to. It does not matter to us. What matters to us as the angelic beings of light that we are is how are you coming together in a space of not disruptedness, not chaos, not deformation, As you are well aware from quantum physicists, energy is always in flow, is it not? There is the universal truth of cause and effect, coming and going. Humans walk forward, Kevin. They do not walk backwards. So correct. Everything that you are saying is correct. Value fulfillment. What does a value mean to you? Your value system would be different to Michelle's. Michelle has children. You do not. So it is in the definition of redefining what is individual to you and what is individual to Michelle. And we are using the two of you as an example. We hope you don't mind, as the two of you are here right now. Yet it is a time of truth. What is of value to me? This is the question that we would love to put forward to those who are watching today.
Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah,
Joy.
Absolutely.
Joy.
Yes, of course. Yes, of
Laughter.
course. Happiness.
You love to laugh. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, happiness. How do you redefine happiness? You talk of happiness. Many humans talk about being happy, yet are they happy? And we are using Michelle's expression as, how do you know if she's happy? You are not too sure. How do you know? Many humans, again, wear their masks, Kevin. We are using the mask as an analogy.
Yeah. I'll just go back to the finger pointing, right? Because I've got a documentary to finish off, and it's a finger pointing documentary. It's, these are the facts, and that's your made up reality, and these are, the well, I want to say the truth, but yeah, the truth. And well, where am I going with that? I suppose it was a value fulfillment at one point. Now I just want to get it, see it through and get it done. But I do want to see it through, and I'm going to, screaming and kicking. But I suppose maybe that's, maybe it's part of my mission. Maybe at that for this particular point in time, maybe. And I'm looking at these people who have large followings as well. In the QAnon movement and others, and of course they're all complete liars. Mental health system's broken. Obviously, it shows because they're there. Joking, but not. And yeah, maybe they get to that point in their career where I guess they get sucked in to a particular energy. And it keeps feeding them. They keep feeding it. And I guess, maybe they do feel it's their value fulfillment, but actually it's not. And I think your message is, when I talked about the long term, hundreds of years to come, right, is really going back into ourselves and finding our own truth, which we're going to get into, and what that means a little bit while I'm saying that. But yeah, getting into not needing to be, because we're so trusting on people, aren't we, with large followings, but that doesn't mean it's true, right? As you say, they could be as corrupted and misled within their own whatever experience they're having here, as the soul they're having it, but on the outside, it's there's a reason why we're drawn to it, isn't there? I suppose people are drawn to certain things that aren't true. And you're right, we do live in those times. I think a point in going back to that. But what else do we do sometimes if we're not going to make a stand? But does any of it matter? I don't know. I think it does and it doesn't. I think really what you're saying, and let's just get to this, is, how do we find what's true for us? And rather than having to go to others to get it, we can all speak to our higher self, can't we? Our soul. I'm using the same words together. I don't really understand what that part of us is, except it's with us right now, a portion of it's with us right now, but there's a greater portion that's not as well, the real us maybe, right? But we're able to speak to that voice, even if we were just to sit down either on the computer and start, talking to ourselves, what's my higher self got to say to me today, right? Or if we wanted to write it. And normally those messages that come through when we do that would be a lot of love bombing, because that's what probably we need at that moment. Yeah. I'll hand that over to you. It's not even a question, but if you want to continue from there.
That is okay. That is okay. And we thank you for that. And we thank you for this documentary that is up and coming. And we ask of you, if we may, for you to not lose foresight in the reasoning behind it, as it is going to be well received and well heard. And there will be many aha moments, as many humans like yourself, like Michelle, are questioning. And as many humans are questioning what is their individual truth, it is as simple as being in the quiet of the dark. So maybe use yourself in the studio. It is, many people would look at it and say it is dark, and many people may look at the screen that Michelle is on and say, look behind her, it is light. Yet this is the difference. It is almost as if humans and earth is being shook up at this moment. So many are feeling discombobulated. Many are feeling anxious. Many are feeling nervous. And this is the vibration of what is being carried out throughout these last few years. So when humans are feeling this way, and we are over-exaggerating, so please know we are exaggerating as we feel that this is a very, very, very important message to deliver. When humans within their vibration are feeling as if they are not coping, they are anxious, they are overwhelmed, and we know that this is part of the human state of mind, what we say is, as soon as someone brings breath to someone else, as soon as someone brings life to someone else, it is as simple as a paramedic that needs to shock somebody out of their system. Where are we going with this? We are saying that you are asking of individual truths. Yet, when humans are lost, when humans are in the vibration of themselves, yet everything is not calm. When they are not calm, they are seeking, 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 they are seeking. And then they gravitate. It is a suction point. It is a magnetic suction point that happens. And then it is almost as if they are feeling as if they are so sticky within inside that suction point that they are not able to separate and find discernment. So when they are creating the suction, there is a vacuum that happens universally. Yet the suction happens for you as humans, the humans that you are. And when there is a suction, there is a connection, is there not? Many of you have been taught for a very long time that when there is butterflies in the system, there is love. This is not true. When there is a strongness, when there is a firmness inside of you, when you are able to connect from one to the other, when there is a trusting of each other, yet a trusting of yourself. As you and Michelle know, you have gone backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, have you not? You both have patience with one another, and one could say that there is a respect for one another and a respect for one another's work. Yet at the same time, there is a noticing of a connection that is being fine-tuned between the two of you. We hope this makes sense. So where are we going with this? How do we find, as many are asking, how do we find our truth? How do we find ourselves? It is simple. Start asking the correct questions. You have asked about the higher self. Well, your higher self is always, always, always in motion. We are parts of your higher self, are we not? Some may call us your guides, some may call us your team, some may call us your angelic masters, some may call us, it does not matter. Humans suck towards a label. You humans are so funny. And as long as you have a label, you have an aha moment. So when there is displacement, when there is greed, as there is a huge amount of all-consuming greed that is happening within these different levels, within the spiritual realms. And this has by no means only been happening in these last 10 to 15 to 20 years. You are well aware you have some high esteemed channelers that have been channeling for a very, very long time, who are pioneers in the field, who have existed for a long time. And they have been saying similar things, have they not? Cults have been around for a long time. Again, how does one seek their truth? How does one know their truth? These are the questions that each individual we would highly recommend and suggest to be asking themselves, what is my truth? And your heart's knowing will guide you. Your heart's knowing, your soul's knowing. It is happening for you regardless. Yet there is a fine tweaking that is happening within the systematic systems of who you are. Your Merkaba, the unlocking of your Merkaba is where you find your truth. And if it is not resonating in the formation of joy, if it is not bringing lightness to the individual and their body, if it is not bringing a smile, as if Michelle was grumpy, would you have wanted to have her back? If she was uneasy, would you have wanted to have her back? We think not. We think that you would have cut the cord. The suction would have created a gap, would it have not? And you would have looked elsewhere, and so would she have. So not wrong or right. It only is in the moment of presence, Kevin. We hope this makes sense.
No, it does, absolutely. Yeah, and my analogy there of like, for some people, I mean, it may not be for everyone what I explained there, the idea of like, if you know, we've all got the ability to speak to a higher self. Just, you know, get a pen and paper and start making it up, and you'll soon see that there probably is a response from that voice within, the silent voice within. I love you. You are amazing. Although it starts with all that for a lot of us to begin with, right? But then you know, probably, you know, it can go into much deeper things for people, much deeper things, like it, you know, it does for the channelers. But it's got to start somewhere. And maybe you've not been loving yourself for such a long time, and that's why those messages come in a lot for a lot of us. You know, like when we go to a channeler, sometimes there's just, you kind of love bombed. Not all the time, you know, it depends where you are in your journey. But if you've not been loving yourself, then maybe you can expect that to come through the channeler from maybe your higher self or the guides, you know, because that's what that's a great place to start, right? But what you were saying there does make sense. You know, learning to love yourself and do things, you know, to light you up, whatever your value fulfillment is. But that also probably creates more light on the planet, unbeknown to yourself.
Well, there is the simplicity of the talking and the walking of the truth is about kindness, is about compassion. Even love is so misunderstood by you humans. When one does something for one other, then they would say to themselves, they love me. Yet when one decides not to do something for one other, then all of a sudden the love is not happening anymore. So it is a push-pull system of love that you humans live in. And it can be dense at times. And yes, you are correct. It is taking a pen and paper and sitting and saying, who is out there? Who is my team? Who am I? It is being rediscovered. And please notice as we are saying this, it has been rediscovered that humans have not come from the caveman. Many humans are saying to themselves, and we know that you have heard this many times, I am so lost. I'm so stuck. I'm 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 so lost. I'm so stuck. This creates contraction within the vibrational being. Yet when one is in expansion, And expansion is ever existing. It is never in contract. The universal field is never in contract. Yet you humans have had so much displacement and disbeliefs once again about who are you. You have been told so much. You have been told so much in terms of untruths and dishonesty. Hence again, we say that it is time to sit as the individual molecular structure that you are and ask yourself, what feels good for me in this moment? Moments change, do they not, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
Vibration changes.
What lights you up?
Vibration shifts.
What lights you up?
What?
Yeah.
Correct. Well, it is simple. Have you watched a butterfly? Have you watched a butterfly in the wind? Have you seen how it, as light as what it is, it grips onto a tree? It is defying of everything that science would tell us. Yet science keeps humans safe, does it not? Yet it does not define who you are individually. So what lights you up? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful statement. And if it does not light you up, what's the purpose of being in the presence of that person, that individual, that time, that timeline? When one is present, there is a connection that happens with not only yourself, with others that are in your space.
That's right. And, when that voice does come through, I'm not saying this is for everyone, right, to do the creative writing kind of thing, but, it won't manipulate you. It's not going to be that voice that, a serial killer is going to kind of explain that led to him doing something terrible, right? This is a voice of only love, right? Of love and, not going out there to hurt yourself or others. And that goes for the same for people that get readings from people. If that reading turns manipulative, then you can be assured that that's not coming from any loving source, right? Or any, angelic kind of, non-human connection. You mentioned, the cult things. That's an interesting one. There's so many spiritual gurus out there right now. So many. There's a few with high followings. Let me put it that way, that have become cult-like, and you can't say a thing wrong about these people, and otherwise, if you did leave a comment in the comment section of someone like that, they would see you as attacking them. And I think when some of these people with the large followings get that large, and others can see distortions in what they're saying, right? It's quite obvious. I think a lot of those people, I think they've had those followings from other lifetimes where it was a religious following in the previous lifetime. They were a big religious figure. Now they're into spirituality, and that same entity, that same flock has come to them. That none of them are even aware of that connection.
Correct. We will use the Vatican City as an example, if we may. How many have followed for centuries? How many have gone into the Vatican City, yet they are allowed outside the Vatican City, yet they are not allowed inside the Vatican City? Do you see how it does not make sense? Yet everyone goes there, millions of followers go there, and they bless, and they go and they bow down to one individual or others who follow that individual. For us, there is so much that does not make sense, yet you humans love to put other humans on platforms. And you are correct in saying that we are going to take that back. This is a time of change. And it is simple as noticing. When one notices if they are having what you humans call a session or a reading, and in that reading there is a space in time where you may think, or you may have an understanding, or you may have a knowing that that does not feel good. The body isn't feeling. Hence we talk about contraction and expansion. You humans carry emotions. You have feelings, do you not? So it is in the contraction of the noticing of what you humans would call a trigger. And if there was to be a trigger in that moment of the reading or the session, if there is a contraction, right after that, there is an expansion. Yet we would say, take it and put it into file 13. If it does not make sense in that moment, place it within a box for now. Yet again, we will bring up vibration. We will bring up intention. We will bring up validation. We will bring up frequency. When one is in a frequency of a joyful space, one will bring a similar vibration of somebody who is within the same space, yet you use the term gurus. We personally, for who we are, would ask you to banish the terminology of gurus. This is the ultimate of putting somebody on a platform. You know better than us. You know better than us, yet there is a finger pointing. And we are saying today that not one knows better than the other. Yes, humans who build space rockets may have studied for a very long time to build that space rocket, to put it together. Yet the rocket isn't built by one person. It is built by many, over many, 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 many years. And when the rocket takes liftoff, there is excitement, is there not, by many others. So it is time to bring those individuals who are we want to smile as we find it so funny that humans love labels. Humans love that others know better than others. This is the egoic mind. This is the dark that takes over in those moments. So when one is sitting with their truth of who they truly are, there is only a warmth in the space of love. There is only expansion in the space of love. As you are well aware, many humans have gone through near-death experiences. It is wonderful how these stories are being shared, as when they are transitioning, there is a noticing of light. There is a noticing of love. There is a noticing of truth. This is the internal message. When one is in a space of love, one is giving, one is kind, one is compassionate. One notices connection. One notices presence. One notices others. One is in a space of discernment, yet a holding space. When one is holding space, one is holding space as you are right now for us to come through and speak to you. It is that simple, yet humans love to make it complicated, do they not?
Oh, well, we're very good at that. So to get to that space that you just mentioned there, that space could be got to from, getting into what it is that lights you up. And maybe what lights you up is being in value fulfillment and having your family around you, having your loved ones around, but the value fulfillment thing is a message that's come through again and again and again and again through so many channels that I've interviewed. So there's something really, I know that's the key. Do you know what I mean? I do. I've come to accept that myself, because it just not only makes logical sense, it just feels right. I just know it to be, true.
Notice what you said, and we're sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
It feels right.
It feels right. Yes. Yeah.
That is fulfillment.
Yes, absolutely. Now, some people talk of the word mission, like we're here on, what we've all got a mission, whether it's to be a mum or dad or whatever it is, right? Whatever you're here to do, right? Well, maybe we've got many, but my question really was, what is mission, like we hear in the community, the same as maybe value fulfillment, it's one of the same thing, or maybe or maybe mission is, when people speak of mission, it's maybe there's certain things on your life path that you're destined to maybe experience and do. Maybe that could be seen as a mission. So, for example, you might be on a mission of justice. You might be a lawyer. You might be in a mission of love, whatever that you're giving out in the world. Whatever your mission is, whatever you're doing right now with your job and everything else, or that whatever it is that's fulfilling you to do, right? And maybe a lot of people are fulfilled with the work that they're doing. I hope so, right? That's also part of the individual's healing as well. So what may seem as like what guy does or that girl does, whatever it is they're doing, right? But you might think, to scratch your head and think, well, how is that part of their healing? But it is, isn't it? If you're in alignment with your value fulfillment, you're probably also in alignment with some sort of healing deep on a deeper level, maybe.
This is where we have noticed that many of you are pointing fingers, as you are well aware that each of you has a soul, and it is written within the soul's alignment as to what the mission is or not. Many are happy with not knowing what spirituality is. Many are happy with knowing what spirituality is. It does not make anyone indifferent to anyone else. It does not mean that that person is on a mission and the other person is not on a mission. Everyone, correct, is on their own, within their own healing journey. And we are delighted in how the transition and how the changes are being shown within many, many humans. Many humans are speaking about their trauma. Many humans are speaking about psychedelics. Many humans are speaking about shamans. Many humans, and may we say shamans too, are put on pedestals. Please do not put shamans on pedestals, as they are humans living a human existence. And this is where so much is being displayed within the truth. You are all individually finding out your own individual mission. And you are correct in saying value fulfillment in value. When one is in their own value of self, it does not matter what anybody else has to say in that moment, as the soul only knows truth. The soul only knows love. The soul only knows in that moment to be within a space of presence or mission, whatever your words are. Many of you resonate with different missions within that moment. Someone may stay in a job for 40, 50, 60 years. That is their mission. That is them being in value fulfillment. As you are aware, your roles, your jobs have been different in the last few years, have they not? Your mission is changing. Your mission is not defining who you are. Yet humans, once again, think that this is Kevin Moore. Kevin Moore interviews channelers. And when Kevin Moore decides not to interview channelers anymore, how dare he? This is his mission. How can he change his mission? He was giving us so much information. This is not fair. Many humans are using that expression. Yet your mission is this for now. And then your mission becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, depending on how you observe bigger to be, depending on how you love to be challenged. So correct.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Please go ahead.
No, please finish again.
Again, everyone has their own individual. Everyone is unique within their individual self. Not one is good, not one is bad, yet there is so much judgment. Hence, we would love for many to start observing within their discernment. Discernment is key. Compassion is key. When humans learn compassion for themselves, as you had said previously, It is about learning to love oneself first and foremost. Yet you humans have a very, very, very low vibrational space in which many of you reside in, which is anger, which is judgment, which is frustration. Would you say this is a fair observation?
No, joking. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I can resonate with that.
We know. And what we say is that when humans let go of the anger, which does not serve you cellularly in any way, true or form, the mission becomes different. And you may go from this mission, which may be feeling as if you are being driven. It may feel as if it is intense. It may feel as if it is hard at times. It may feel as if it is being pushed at times. And it may feel as if it is hard work as you are perhaps staying up until all hours of the night. The mission then changes into one that is easier, that is more open, and more fruition. More abundance.
More abundance. I was going to say that as well. I think when you're in Valley Fulfillment and when when you really, have tuned into that, that is the true answer to the law of attraction. Do what you bloody love, because then you won't need it. Yeah, you'll be so fulfilled with everything in your present moment. It just won't matter. It won't matter. Yeah.
Correct. And it does not matter, as many of you are talking about a simpler life. Many of you are talking about growing your own fruit, your own vegetables. Many of you are talking about how do we create smaller. Many of you wanted the bigness. You've created these massive mansions, these massive homes, these massive expectations of one another. And now you are redefining, again, individual truth. Not good, not bad, just is.
And find ways to enjoy what's here right now and, not running away from it. Now, that's not to say that you cannot move away from that, right? But just to enjoy what's here right now. Otherwise, what's the point of this conversation?
And we would love to share with you that what we have noticed when humans are leaving their physical bodies, the very last thing that most humans, when they are lying and taking their last breath, that is all that exists in that moment, is their last breath. Many hope to have their family around them or their friends around them or one person around them. When soldiers are going to war, Kevin, they are in fight, are they not? They are on their own mission, are they not? They are being led into a war and they give of their all. So when one is giving of their all, it is giving in the moment of their oneness, of their true connection. When one is not within and they are saying they're connected, and yes, I am listening, I'm listening, but I'm with you, I'm connected, I'm very, very connected. That is completely, it is like taking a whole bunch of wires and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And notice how this is not squeezing. It is a pulling effect, is it not? Yet, when the wires are being reconnected, there is a symbiotic, synchronistic moment where the reconnection is solid and strong. Yet many humans are saying, we're so connected, we're so present, we get it, we understand, we will be on our phones and we are listening and we are watching and we are doing 15 different things. This is not how human bodies work. Human bodies work in a slower formation. Yes, the mind lights up, the mind, the brain. It can connect to so much at once. Yet if we were 100 different voices coming through at once, would you understand us? It would be this kind of frequency.
Maybe just ending here on mission as well, and Valley Fulfillment, right? But do you feel, or what's your take on that? Maybe if we're struggling to find what our Valley Fulfillment is, maybe the answer, the seeds to it, maybe lie in childhood. what was in our childhood that we really enjoyed, that was our real self?
We thank you for this, as if you notice children, they love to play. They make friends and they break up friendships very easily, yet they make up friendships very quickly too. They are in complete joy. They let adults know when they are not happy. They let adults know if they need to have their clothes changed. Yet if you watch children, they can be full of mud and they're in their happiest. And yes, this is the way you have been conditioned. So if one likes to have clean hands, if one has the belief system of, please do not sneeze on me as this is going to create a germ, you are going to make me sick, that is the programming that will keep rolling itself out until one individual within the lineage, within the family decides, this is not who I am. Children love to get their hands dirty. Children love to be in a space of compassion. Have you noticed how children will easily hug? We take you to the understanding, and this is a desensitizing of how you've all been led to believe, and we are using the word all. Within spirituality, please do not hug me because I pick up on your stuff. What happens if you are dark or carrying dark entities or energies? I'm going to feel that. Nature does not work that way, does it, Kevin? Nature exists. Trees grow intertwined with each other. Weeds grow. In the microcosmic, everything is intertwined. Everything is little, yet everything is big and expansive. So correct. Children, if you are feeling as if you are not happy within, sit at a park and watch children play. Watch children eat ice cream. They are a delight to be around.
And with your own childhood as well, what was it that maybe inspired you, or maybe things that, was there some seed in your childhood that you can look back and say, oh yeah, that's something I maybe I don't know, playing a musical instrument, I don't know, dancing or whatever, or you had an idea for some sort of film or whatever. I don't know what you do as but things as kids that we were passionate about, and as adults we've kind of well, I can't dance, I can't move my body up too, it hurts too much, or I there's no way I could play an instrument now, whatever it is, right? They're just using basic stuff there, but are maybe the seeds were there when you were younger of what maybe something that part of your mission was that you're here to do.
They've always been implanted from the very first time that connection was had between the sperm and the cell, long before that. So yes, the mission is different for every single individual, yet it is about choosing to be responsible for yourself first and foremost. How do you choose to take on the word responsibility? It's how you are able to respond in the moment, in the present moment. We see that many humans have knee-jerk reactions. We see that many humans have many knee-jerk reactions. We talk about knees, yet mouth-jerk reactions. Many humans cannot keep their mouths shut in the moment. Yet vulnerability is key. When humans allow themselves to be vulnerable, when humans allow their hearts to open, there is only the connection. And the connection, the mission, as you have put it, was way determined long before you came into fruition.
Like a pre-birth plan, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was written in the stars.
Well, in the astrology as well, absolutely. It's all there. Well, look, if there's any final thing that you just want to say, we'll have to keep it brief. I know we're well over time right now, and I thank you for that as well. So just before we close this connection off, there's anything else you might want to say?
we would love to address you as the individual that you are and thank you for your mission of being of service. We know it has been a long-standing one for you, and we are grateful for all that you have shared and served and given to humanity. You are the one individual who has been upstanding in the sharings, so we thank you for that. And we would love to end off with atoning, if we may. And for those who are listening, we would ask to allow the breath to flow in and out, in and out, in and out. And if there are any ailments within the body, please bring focus to those ailments. And we will end off with atoning, if we may.
Okay.
We thank you. We are complete for today. Namaste, Kevin.
Thank you. Well, that was awesome, Michelle. Just thank you so much for that. Really interesting answers to some of the questions I had there. So let's just remind the audience of your website. And of course, we'll link that in the description below as well.
Okay, it is www.michellecarpenter.co.nz, and go into my bookings page and you can book either a session with the Council of Eight, an individual session. We have weekly gatherings, which is great. Also, when the Council of Eight come through and we start a heart opening meditation. I'm not making sense. You can see I'm back here. And I look forward to walking with anybody in their journey and helping them in any way that comes up in the moment.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, we'll put all those links in the description below as well. And that's been coming up on the screen. So, Michelle, I'll just thank you for coming on and sharing with us today the information you did. And I just wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your patience and making this happen again and for hearing me. And I'm truly grateful, and I look forward to your next mission, whatever that's going to be. Please stay in contact, and if you come to New Zealand, come, just connect, okay?
And
let us know.
We'll let you know about that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, good.